Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I am going to call a special meeting of the Board of Education to order. And it will start out with roll call. Madam Secretary.
Ms. Bacon?
Present.
Ms. Copion?
Present.
Ms. Flores?
Here.
Ms. Haynes?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien?
Here.
Dr. Olson?
Present.
Ms. Rowe?
Here. So we are gathered here tonight for an incredibly important time and motion that will be brought forward to the Board of Education. Prior to bringing the motion forward, I would now like to turn the floor over to two of our colleagues to give us an update about the superintendent search to date and where we are. And so with that said, Dr. Olson and Ms. Bacon, thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We've got just a little recap of where we've been and how we've gotten to this place. We started this work in August with the launch of a national search that included an extensive community engagement process as well as sourcing and candidate review. In more than 100 meetings and via an online survey, more than 4,500 students, parents, educators, and community members shared their input about what is needed in the next leader of Denver Public Schools. We drew heavily on this input when we contacted potential candidates and we narrowed down the applicant pool and we formed interview questions based on the feedback that we heard in this report. Over the course of the last 2.5 months, we have had contact with 122 potential candidates, 41 of whom submitted applications by the October 15th deadline. We reviewed all applicant materials and selected 14 more for serious consideration, and then we chose to interview 7 applicants. Following lengthy interviews with each applicant, we voted to move forward with Susana as a finalist 2 weeks ago. Throughout the search process, we have been committed to engaging with residents across Denver to listen carefully to the issues, concerns, and recommendations raised by the members of the community. That did not end once we announced our finalist. During the past 2 weeks, students, families, educators, and community members have had the opportunity to hear from Susana Cordova during our 12 meetings, both large and small, as well as 7 school visits. We've sought written feedback from the more than 550 individuals that participated in those meetings. Those meetings and that feedback has informed each board member's deliberation and decision-making process and informs our discussion tonight. And with that, I turn it over to Ms. Bacon.
Throughout this process, our DPS community highlighted key qualities and areas of focus, including a leader with both teaching and administrative experience, a leader who promotes diversity and a positive climate across the district, a leader who values teachers and works to address teacher salaries, teacher retention, and hiring more teachers of color, and a leader who can lead on the following areas of focus for our students: closing the achievement and opportunity gap, increased funding and resources for schools and equitable distribution of resources, more resources to increase culturally responsive curriculum, review of the school performance framework, access for every child to a great school, continuous improvement on community engagement. Susana Cordova is a highly qualified candidate who met the most sought-after leadership qualities the board heard from the DPS community, including the ability to set priorities as a leader of a large, complex organization, extensive experiences as an educator, and a deep commitment to working with diverse communities. She's a first-generation college graduate who deeply understands the power of education to change lives. She's uniquely well-situated to lead our school district effectively and inclusively. Susana brings deep roots in the community, extraordinary depth of knowledge of DPS, educational expertise, and she is widely known and respected by an expansive network of educators, parents, and civic, community, philanthropic, and business leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bacon. So I am going to ask for a motion, and if that motion is seconded, it will allow the board to have further comment and dialogue. With that said, I will turn the floor over
superintendent search process, I hereby move for the board to appoint Susana Cordova as the superintendent of Denver Public Schools.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. With that, I will open the floor to board members for comments and dialogue. Ms. Cobian.
This last week, as Carrie mentioned, we as board members had the opportunity to accompany Susana on a variety of different continued engagement and interviews. For Southwest Denver, this included a visit to Valverde Elementary School, the Math, Science, and Leadership Academy, as well as KIPP Sunshine Peak, where Susana engaged in pretty rigorous conversation with both school leaders, teachers, and students as they very honestly and very proudly talked about their school communities, as well as very candidly spoke about the challenges that lie ahead. On the south side of town, the challenges that lie ahead include a decline in school-aged children. We have amazing elementary schools that are doing fabulously well, and that are also bleeding out children due to the housing instability in our city and the decline in birth rates. This is a tremendous challenge going forward, and I know that the next superintendent in our district is going to have to be able to create the kind of environment and condition for dialogue that comes from the people who are directly impacted in our schools to be able to talk about what we're going to do to move forward together as a community. And as I had mentioned in a previous meeting when we were discussing about what to do with Ms. Cordova's candidacy, I remain 100% sure and complete in the confidence that I have in her ability to be able to lead from those who are directly impacted, because as one of my favorite community organizing principles says, those who are farthest away from the pain can afford to philosophize about it. And we're not going to do any philosophizing. We're going to be directly with our communities to identify a pathway forward. So that is all I have to enter into tonight's discussion. Looking forward to the work.
Thank you, Ms. Cobian. Other board members? Ms. Gordon.
Hi. I think it seems like there might be a little bit of reticence in some ways to say that we've said so much. So I'll keep my comments brief. There were really just two things that I wanted to highlight. I again really do feel like I've had an opportunity to share so much about my thoughts around the search process as a whole and the caliber, quality of our candidate. But along those lines, I've shared in the past that we each kind of, as board members and part of this collective team, took on different tasks. And one of my tasks was to spend quite a bit of time reaching out across the country to different urban districts, different communities, really looking at what was beyond our own borders for the city and county of Denver. And I have to say, while I really was impressed by leadership that we encountered or talked to across the country, one of my greatest takeaways was really the appreciation and admiration for the strength and quality of leadership that exists within the city and county of Denver. And I actually, at this point, I'm going to start with more of a collective body that is part of that. There are some incredible leaders that make up our DPS educational team, both internally and externally. I'm really grateful for that leadership, and I would say more specifically too with Susana. At every step of this process, When we were initially looking at resumes, or again, initially making those director calls, just a strength of leadership, of experience, and vision too for where we could take the district was just so clear. And really, thank you for being as strong of a candidate as you have proven to be. The other thing that I wanted to say is I'm thinking about just how to anchor this. It feels like it wasn't that long ago when I was a little girl and people were saying, you know, anybody could be president, right? And as young women and children of color, it was hard to see and imagine that. And it really wasn't, again, until we had our first Black president that you started to see some of that possibility and to really kind of to see yourself in that leadership. And I think about Susana being a Latina, being a graduate of Denver Public Schools like myself. I think about Susana really coming up through the ranks of Denver Public Schools as a teacher, as a school leader, as an administrator, and what that means to so many who I would say will be following in her footsteps. I think it's really incredible to lay that groundwork. And so here are, it's water, but here's to first.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. Ms. Haynes.
Thank you, Madam President. It's been a long journey these last few months, and I know Susana, in presenting herself to the people, said she's been on a long journey her whole life in this district. And it was, as my colleagues have pointed out, a rigorous process. In these last few weeks, as Angela was mentioning, it was a brutal schedule, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I was dragging, and Susana just kept going, and you know, I realized this is she's used to this pace, and her commitment to this district and the work she's already done over these years has prepared her well for what is undoubtedly the most challenging job in America, and that is serving as a superintendent of a large urban district. And the process was challenging, and we heard from people just across the spectrum, a diverse group of people everywhere in this district, from students to teachers to administrators to staff members and all the support roles in this district. And I was gratified by the interest and the passion and the commitment that all of those folks had, as well as our community members, some of whom attended every single session, and just showing that what they believe in, and that is the kids of our district. And so I just want to say, before I say something about Susana, thank you to all of our community members, all of our DPS, Team DPS, for your time and the commitment to this process, for all the hard questions, for the passion, sometimes anger and frustration, but the fact that you were there over and over again in all of these meetings to share it, demonstrated to us that the people in our city really deeply cherish and care about our children. Regardless of whether we agree or not on how to get there, we all believe that we want the very best for our kids. And so I just want to state that gratitude to our entire community. Throughout that process, as I said, Susana was faced with a lot of controversy, and she didn't avoid the controversy, but she leaned into it, acknowledging much of the pain and the anger that came along with what she was hearing from people, shared her vision and her pledge to take action on the concerns that she heard throughout this process. She demonstrated to everyone, and we all knew Susana as a listener, as a deep listener, just in the interactions we've all had with her. But to watch her in the community sessions, listening to each person, regardless of what their concern was and whether they agreed with her or not, she listened deeply, and that is an extraordinary attribute for a leader of a district like ours who has so many diverse constituencies to try to please and to address. So I just want to end with, number one, thank you, Susana, for stepping up and putting yourself in this process. And it was a fair and rigorous process, and I think you came out in flying colors. I have the confidence that Susana will lead our district in a new direction. Yes, building on the successes of the past, but having the courage to abandon what does not work and to try to find some new solutions to the persistent problems that we face, the challenges that we face in this district. I have great confidence in her leadership and her ability to bring people together. Some of those may still be skeptical, and I think she will demonstrate as time goes on her willingness to roll up her sleeves and work with her critics to try to find what's best for our kids. She's ready, she's prepared, and she's the most dedicated educator I know, and I'm proud to support her.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Ms. Baker.
So I can say that we've definitely pushed ourselves, I think, to the limit throughout this process. I'm glad that we did. I think it was really a good thing for us to demonstrate that listening matters. It was a good thing for us to invest in hearing from our community so that we have an action plan. And, you know, I think there might be some expectations of me tonight, so I'm going to talk directly to those. I do want to say that it has been, and I'm not you, but I can imagine that it's been a gift and a curse to be an internal candidate. We know you well. And having to stand up to a level of scrutiny that's really kind of, you know, like you applying against yourself, it had to have been surreal. So I do not envy you, but thank you for your patience. But I think you know we have some dissent on our hands. And so for me, I'm proud to represent District 4. You know, we're the largest of the districts, and my community has volunteered their time. They've braved spaces to share their feelings of hope and concerns. And so I bring their voices here tonight, and I want to acknowledge them similarly to how Director Haynes pointed out. So I've heard you, and I've also think I've done my part to put it all out on the table. And so I do know that you know that we have real work to do. We have areas of operations and achievement in need of targeted focus. We have central staff, teachers, and school leaders that need to be supported with full faith and effort. And we have a culture that needs to be reshaped towards inclusion and collaboration. And I'm looking forward for us to be moving past working in silos. And I believe that we're in need of a reset, and we need new energy and new vision. And I think ultimately this whole search has provided DPS with that opportunity. So if DPS is truly going to be different under your leadership, and you truly have listened and intend to build bridges, then I expect that we will see some of these differences. I'm excited to know that you've heard what these demands for different DPS are. I'm excited that you've been able to articulate them in a way that is unique to your leadership. And I know that you'll seize the opportunity to ensure that we will see some of those demands come through. And if you can do so immediately, we're looking forward to that too. So that being said, I do want to say to you that I hope to walk with you as you demonstrate that you are a listener, a collaborator, and a bridge builder. You hold yourself out to be. I'm looking forward to being on that team and to walking with you in that accountability. And so hopefully we will see those changes. So over, my duties for the next 3 years, we'll probably be walking together in this newness, but please know what to expect from me, and please know what the demands are from my community. So tonight, I will approach my vote with some reservations, but that's okay. The true value of diversity is that difference makes us better. And so we will push each other, but we need to move forward on behalf of DPS, our kids, and our staff. And I believe, as you step in as a new leader, that you will have the will and the skills to confront these challenges. And you will work towards a better DPS. And the truth of the matter is, only a woman can do it anyway.
Excellent close, Ms. Bacon. Thank you. Dr. Olson.
Again, I come to you as the board member who'd like to remind everyone that you've been reminding me this is the most important decision I will ever make as a board member. And in arriving in my vote tonight, I've listened to community members, families, students, teachers, DPS employees. I've listened to Susana a lot. I think I can give your opening speech as well as you can almost by now. I thank all of you who have reached out to me and given me your thoughts. And again, I'd like to thank all of my board colleagues who have shared with me their thoughts and opinions in helping me arrive at my decision. And once again, as we vote tonight, I thought about how I got to this seat. I thought about why the voters have elected me. And I thought about all of you who have begged me to vote a certain way, thinking about the things that you value and care about. And once again, I ask you is if we disagree on how we vote tonight, that we will still continue with an era of mutual respect, because as Jen Bacon just mentioned, we have a lot of work to do. In order to tackle all the issues we need to for Denver Public Schools, I know that we need unity in the work that lies ahead. We have been divided, and with my vote today, I hope to demonstrate my willingness to work together in unity with my board colleagues, Susana Cordova, all of DPS, and the entire Denver community to usher in a new era of excellence of working together to strengthen Denver Public Schools. Susana, I've heard you say this is one of the most important relationships you've had in your life, besides your husband and children, sorry-in-law, and I share that with you. This has been one of the most important relationships of my life. Therefore, tonight I will be casting a yes vote for Susana Cordova as the next superintendent. Susana, these remarks are for you. My vote of yes is a vote to your deep knowledge of the city and the schools that you bring to DPS. I look to you to lead as a DPS in Denver native would, seeking to strengthen all of our schools so that all students in every neighborhood have an opportunity to succeed and thrive by design, not by chance, as you have mentioned. As a Latina and someone who has come up through DPS, you're an example to our students of how to demonstrate how someone can lead in her own city. We have work to do to promote excellence for all students, and I expect you to call on this knowledge to lead, again, as a Denver and a DPS native would. My yes vote for you tonight demonstrates my expectation that you use your strengths as a good listener and a collaborator to work with DPS stakeholders and community to find solutions to our trickiest issues, such as co-location, discipline, competition, whole child supports, institutional racism. Whew, I'm tired already. The opportunity achievement gap, to re-envision SPF, to name a few. I will hold you accountable for your promise to work with the community instead of doing to and for, again, something you and I share and value. My yes vote tonight also demonstrates a yes to your knowledge as an expert as a second language acquisition specialist, a classroom teacher, and a principal, and a student in our system as you lead with urgency and cooperation with our teachers. You know the complicated dynamics of being in a classroom and a school, and I expect you to keep this in mind as we work together alongside with DCTA to find a fair contract that makes sense for Denver Public Schools. I have heard you speak about your desire to create a budget that reflects all of your values in supporting all of DPS. As Michelle Obama stated last week when I had the pleasure of hearing her speak, we are all becoming. I know that I'm becoming a better school board member, and I look forward to seeing you becoming in your own person as the next superintendent of Denver Public Schools and strengthening your leadership skills. And I also call on you to lead with integrity and the values that you have so publicly stated regarding equity, collaboration, and inclusiveness as you assume this role. I also would like to pledge to you my support and my willingness to help you in this hard work. I will stand with you and walk with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Ms. O'Brien.
Thank you. We have heard very eloquent remarks from all of the board members, and I don't want to repeat them. I just want to say that we understand with Susana that part of the opportunity for DPS is to strengthen the way we work with Denver as a whole community, because the opportunities our children deserve can't be delivered by one entity in the city. We need to find a way to strengthen the way we work together so that whether it's city council of the mayor's office or RTD and the buses and trains, that we can help our kids take advantage of the future that they can have if we figure out how we work together. Susana has had, for as long as I've known her, the ability to talk with people on the other side of an aisle, to talk to people with a different perspective, to listen, to search for common solutions. And we've seen that up close for the past week, where she has been meeting with, I think it was 12 community engagement sessions after she was named as the sole finalist. And her graciousness, her intelligence, the authenticity of her comments, I think that we will be voting on a person who has the ability to represent the school district and the broad Denver community in a way that will benefit our teachers and our students every day. And I'm excited about the opportunity to vote during this historic moment.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. I will finish with a few comments. And I agree with my colleagues before me, the eloquence and the thoughtfulness of my colleagues speaking today is a representation of what I actually believe is the start of a new day. This is a new Board of Education. We have new voices. We have new perspectives. We also have incredible experience and leadership on this board. The two leaders sitting to my right, your left, are people who have been mentors for me for many, many years, and they spoke wisely. And yet, I look at the voices of new leadership, and yes, Ms. Flores, you're stuck in the middle. Being a very wise middle leader. And so, I want to start out with thanking my colleagues for undertaking what is the most important decision that a Board of Education makes. And for us, working together, being thoughtful, pushing each other. At times, there were frustrations. At times, challenges. And yet, we came together in this work to think deeply. And then, as I think about this district going forward, folks talk about Susana and how she checks all the boxes. It's true, but it's so much more than that. I believe deeply in the power of leadership, and that's what we're talking about tonight, my friends, is a person who has lived her life as a student, someone growing up here, and realizing the benefit of an excellent education system, but also believing deeply that it shouldn't be by chance. It should be more by design. I've heard you say that, Susana, and I couldn't agree more. We have incredible work in front of us. It's going to take extraordinary leadership. I've known you for a going to do together going forward. And so this is about kids. This is about 92,000 plus kids and their families in our communities. I think we have hard, important work ahead. We're going to push you. You're going to push us. We have so many people in this room who are going to engage in this. But I think the future is incredibly bright for the kids in Denver, and DPS will continue to lead this nation, and we are going to think differently, and we're going to move forward, and the bottom line is our kids are going to benefit. And so I will strongly support you as our next superintendent of Denver Public Schools, and look forward to working with you. Thank you. Any further comments? With that said, roll call, Madam Superintendent.
Ms. Bacon?
It's funny, I always am not ready to go first.
Do you want to try reverse order? Or no, we have to go this way.
Right.
I apologize, Ms. Bacon.
It's gonna be you and me. Aye.
Ms. Cobian?
Aye.
Ms. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Haynes?
Aye.
Ms. O'Brien?
Aye.
Dr. Olson?
Aye.
Ms. Rudd?
Aye. Unanimous support for our next. All right, group photo for, let's note it, all women. Let's